Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results.
So stressful. And the world's on fire. Good God. I can't look at this, guys. Like, my strategy is you buy it and you hope that you guys buy it. Yeah, but we all think you're crazy. You don't fight this. No way. The markets are freaking out and you don't think that anything is wrong? Go back tomorrow and I'll lose it all. Should be fun.
Good morning, everybody. Well, man, the treasury already going here. So let's just go through the charts here real quick. All right, here's the 10-year. Pretty decent move down again yesterday. Kind of interesting because, well, there was a pretty big move like later on. No, sorry, that was yesterday. Right here about when we left was like the majority of the move, but they actually like moved towards the lows at the end of the day. And then here in the overnight, a little bit move lower. Now we're coming back up. Now we're getting a pretty strong push off of the pit open. So I don't know, when I come over and I look at the rates, and I'm hearing they're saying that they're going to get the Fed funds rate to 2.5 or something like that, 2.25, 2.5. Then I would expect the 2-year to be above that. So there could be more. There's definitely some room for more bear side from that perspective, isn't there? Right. Coming back over here. Yes. Coming back a little bit from yesterday, but it was a really quite a remarkable rally that we saw yesterday morning. And we kind of have to come back to some of these daily charts here to see the impact that that's had. We're not quite above the 200-day moving average yet, but we're getting there. And it's just a remarkable recovery that we've had, especially considering how bearish everybody still seems to be. Right? As we are heading into deflation in the future, would this be a good opportunity to add bonds? Well, I'm not so sure that I see deflation on the future, but if that was going to happen, maybe these prices would be okay. I think that there's probably still some more downside we're going to go if that's what's going to happen, right? Anyways, let's coming back over here to oil. Oil having another move up to the upper end of the range. Natural gas shooting off. Gold and silver still contained within the range, but a little bit higher than yesterday. 1926. Oh yeah, by the way, the spread. Everybody's talking about the yield curve and the yield curve flattening, but look. The 2s and 10s is steepening. So 2s and 10s is steepening. Then we come over to here. Bitcoin took a little shot off the other day, gave up about half of that. And the dollar is rallying. So it's a little interesting that, for instance, gold, silver, and even I think we could even put Bitcoin in that group, are still doing okay despite this strong excuse me, despite the strong dollar. Okay, they're doing well despite the strong dollar. Kind of interesting. So there does appear to be some safe haven flows out there. Thought you didn't like a technical analysis of a 200 DMA nature. Well, I'm never going to use that as an entry on a chart. It's just a benchmark, right? It's just saying, how well are we doing relatively speaking? For this rally to have now come up above the 50 and 100-day moving averages so quickly is quite remarkable. Now, the concern I think out there is that it all happened from gamma hedging and so forth, which I think is a legitimate concern. You have yours as you have an EMA on it though. It's a little different. We could test that. Like here's the thing. I was doing some work on this the other day. Like if you come in and you say, okay, if we're above the 50-day moving average, buy at the beginning of the day, sell at the end of the day, doesn't work very well. Doesn't work very well. Just telling you. Um, so to come in and to say we're above the 50-day moving average, we're going to continue moving up. It's a fallacy. It doesn't work that way. That I should be more likely to buy something like that. It doesn't. It's not effective at predicting the future action. But it is a really good metric by which to come in and say, this is where we're at. This is how much, how bullish or bearish we are, is where we are in relation to all those moving averages, especially when we come into a period of volatility, right? Because what you're typically going to see in that period of volatility is they're going to come below the 200-day moving average, chop around for a bit, and then bounce back out of it. So, you showed me a paper. If you posted the link here on YouTube, I won't see it. Okay, so deflation in the second half because year-over-year comps on GDP won't comp. Well, I don't know. So somebody else was saying what? Do you think the rally is done? I'm not sure. Well, we don't really have a channel. We tried having a channel on Discord specifically for the stream, but we didn't do that. When you share stuff on Discord, you should post it in the channel that it's most relevant to. So if this is a research paper, you should post it in the education channel. Yeah. They make lower bids when they see sell order flow and vice versa. Sure, yeah. Lucas maybe was thinking today the safe side is long U.S. Treasury. Well, I tell you what, that move that they had at the open sure flipped back around hard, didn't it? CPI coming down in the second half. Okay, so if the CPI comes down, and so here's I think the longer term thing that we need to be concerned about. Let's just talk about the yield curve thing again, right? People are saying yield curve flattening. We should be concerned. Well, first of all, 2s and 10s is actually steepening quite a bit now through here. It's the long end of the curve that's flat, the 5 and 10. Or sorry, the 5 and the 10 and 30. Blech. My medicine hasn't kicked in yet. Maybe the 5 and 30 as well. It's really the 30-year end of the curve that's doing poorly. Okay. So here's kind of the thing. What do you think inflation will be over the next 2 years? What do you think inflation will be over the next 5 years? What do you think will be over 10 years, over 30 years, right? All of those points are kind of key, because if you go over 2 years, 2 years is like the average length of a recession and a recovery, right? So if you think that there's going to be a recession, then you should be seeing that right now the yields that we're getting in the 2-year are like as high as they're going to get, right? So you're going, but the what you see in the 10-year is not, right? It's going to be more closer to the average. So you get this time period where the 2-year is higher than the 10-year. And this is why the yield curve reverses, right? But the yield curve was so flat to begin with, right? Like it used to be the case that the yield curve was like, wait, where's my pen? Where's my pen? It used to be that you'd have a yield curve that was like this. And now we have a yield curve like this, right? And now we're saying because the yield curve looks like this, that a recession is coming, okay? Because it was when the yield curve went from here to here that it was like it was a concern, right? Okay. So just realize this reversal in the yield curve is not as strong. It's so it may not be as indicative as it has been in the past, okay? But if you think that the US is going to go into a recession, then really what you think is that these 5, 10s, and 30s aren't going to change. You think that everything is going to continue to be the way that it was the last 10 years, right? And you're going to see low growth and low yields. And so you're not really that interested in buying out the 30s because you don't think that the growth is going to change, right? So that's what's kind of going on right now. But there's something else that's going on right now that you're not really seeing in the yield curve so much. Say something in the lobby channel, Stephen. You must need a new. Maybe you've created a new account. Okay. There's something else that's going on, and that is the deglobalization of the world economy. Right? The deglobalization of the global economy is that this whole Russia thing has shown to countries that they need to be more concerned about their supply chains and the risks to those supply chains, and that they need to be producing more of their goods internally. Right? And what that means is that the cost of goods is going to go up. Essentially, it's going to cost more to make things. I mean, if all your computer equipment starts being made, in the United States, it's going to be a lot more expensive than it is when it's made in China, right? And it was that low cost of goods was one of the key factors that was leading to low inflation, right? So there is a scenario that we're looking at here. If this Ukraine crisis continues and doesn't come to an acceptable conclusion, that we actually see higher inflation in the future, and that should lead to higher overall rates. And that means that the longer term rates, the 10, 5 and 10 in particular, should become higher. So what we should actually see in that scenario, and actually kind of what we're seeing right now, it's very gentle, and people aren't noticing it, but we're seeing yields rising, but we're seeing the 10 rise more, and it's steepening, right? So this kind of scenario where I want to buy treasuries right now, well, you don't necessarily want to do it right now, but maybe you want to do it closer to the second half when you think that you're going to start seeing economic indicators slow down and the Federal Reserve come in and say, maybe we don't want to raise interest rates all the way, right? Then maybe you could buy them. But that's the thing, is that actually going to happen? There was a lot of concern about that a while ago. There was a lot of concern that the economy was going to slow down in the second quarter of the year. We didn't really see that. But then the Ukraine crisis came in, and then that was kind of concerned that was going to exacerbate it. So now we've kind of pushed it out that maybe third, fourth quarter, we might see some real volatility because there might be a global famine and all of these sorts of things, right? And then the question would be, okay, so are you seeing that reflected in markets anywhere? And the answer is, at the moment, no. The S&P 500 has been on just an absolute tear the past week or so. And then it comes back to, yes, but a lot of that was driven by options gamma and stuff. People were really, really short. There was a lot of puts, and the rise caused them to cover. And all of the dealers basically had to flip until, they were originally short everything, and now they're long everything. And then the CTAs get on board, and that exacerbates it and all that sort of stuff, right? So it's a good theory. I'm not saying it's outside of the realm of possibility. I'm only going to say that right now it seems plausible, but I don't see any kind of confirming evidence for it yet, right? So for us in the treasuries, probably the better way to go right now is to come in here and say, if the Federal Reserve is going to raise interest rates to 2.25% to 2.5%, the federal funds rate, what should that mean to the treasuries and the 30 years and all of that? Because if they bring the federal funds rate to 2.5, right, this ain't going to be 2.3, right? This is going to be more than 2.5, because what that 2.5 means is that if you lend to the treasury, you'll make 2.5% per year, right? So if you lend to the treasury for 10 years, you should be making more than 2.5% per year, right? So what is the risk premium that should be baked into that? And you can kind of look at that over the curve, and then we can come in and we can say, if the federal funds came to here, then this is where everything else would be. Now, Lucas was saying I should learn more about yield curves. I've been looking into that, and actually, it kind of gets interesting, because what all of that turns into is like, okay, when you have a yield curve, this is where you get weird stuff, as you say. Okay, we know where the 5 is, and we know where the 10 is. Where should the 7 be, right? And so the most simple thing is you can just draw a straight line between them. But we know that it's a curve. It's not a line. It's going to be more like the straight, kind. And so there's like all of these different ways of approximating that curve, and all of this math about which ones are more accurate and less accurate, and what the convexity is between that estimate and what the real curve tends to be, to use your models to predict how far things are going to be and stuff. And that's basically what you learn when you talk about the yield curve. I've never seen anything that's been like, okay, when you graph out the yield curve on a short-term basis, there's like the behavior that it tends to show. You'd have to do that research yourself. Man, that just came back so hard. Especially the 30. And the S&P 500 has been moving down as we're doing it too. Yeah, about the same time that happened, they current turned. Let's see here. Now, did I miss anything? There was like the new home sales. Oh, that's later. We didn't have any news. Maybe there was the Pentagon briefed the White House with alternatives for possible extra U.S. soldiers in Eastern Europe ahead of Biden's trip to Brussels. Although no final decision has been made, NATO leaders are anticipated to agree to tighten NATO's position. When did this start? Slightly before. So let's go back maybe 10, 15 minutes. Putin says we plan to switch to Russian rubles when selling gas to non-friendly countries. Putin saying a bunch of things. Belarus has ordered certain Ukrainian diplomats to leave the country. Okay, so there is some evidence to suggest that the treasuries are buying up here based off of risk headlines, but as of right now, it is within the average volatility of what we've been seeing. So I don't know if I want to take a trade here in the treasury. The news only explain the move. They don't anticipate them. Well, I would much rather hear the news and see that this is not moving and trade it, and then see it move afterwards. I mean, that happens, right? All I'm saying is don't fall into the fallacy that because this moved in a certain way that predicts some certain probability of it continuing to move or reversing within some sort of expectancy that you can make some amount of money out there, because the market is very statistically efficient, and any kind of setup that you look at based purely off of the movement, from every piece of investigation that I've done, tends to now work. You know what I was doing? The other day yesterday, I tried to do a walk forward test. So basically, it would be like for 90 days, you would you would test and see what the best parameters were, and then use those for a time period or whatever. I think it was actually like you'd test for 15 days and use it for 90 days, and then you do that. And I did that over 5 years, and I actually was able to get the Fourier cycle indicator to give me a profitable strategy, but the Sharpe ratio wasn't very good on it. Sharpe ratio wasn't good enough for me to start a fund out of it. But yeah, they I've never found something that does that and you make better than the index. It just I've never seen it. Okay, so now we got something else we got to do here, and that is we're going to have to pull up the stock market and look at what the hell is going on with GameStop, because there was some pretty crazy movement yesterday. And I want to see where they're at in the aftermarket and if this is really something that has legs or not. The supply and demand determines everything. Okay. Totally good. Okay, so here you can see here on the chart. So the other day they did their earnings and it was absolutely terrible, and we have then had a squeeze back up from 100 to 120. Saw a lot of people posting big time winnings from all of that. Let me come in here. Hold on a second. Will it let me see the options chain? Just okay. Well, the options are actually not nearly as expensive as I thought maybe they would be. These weeklies, I don't know if you actually want to do these weeklies. How far up will they go? Do they go on the weeklies? Look at all of these people buying. Well, you could do it for $300. You could do. I don't think that that's worth it for 265. Really, probably 200. Yeah, 200 is probably where you're going to see everybody buying it at. What about if we just go to not April 01? No, April 14. Come on. May. April weekly. Oh, okay, here we are. This is the April. Biden is speaking. Long may be the way here in the treasury, man. 370 is about where we were yesterday, right? And if we're going to have like a risk off move, we could see like really strong flows come back into the treasuries, right? Well, for a monthly expiration, you're definitely paying a lot. Some of these options that are like where the retail players would be trying to play are reasonable. But you're talking about like, okay, if it's 123 right now, for you to even get in the money, it has to go almost $13, right? So where does that take us to? That takes us to 136. 136. They're actually maybe pricing the options a little bit cheap. if it goes. So now we got to come into today. Oh, yeah, it has. When the options open up, those aren't going to be the prices that they give you. No way. Is Powell speaking right now? I thought that wasn't until 10 o'clock. Oh, no, I have him at 6. Emerging challenges for central bank or governors. Did they like move his speech or something? Okay, so he's talking. So we come back to that when they open up, yeah? Can you believe that so many people were calling GameStop 1,000? Yeah, 100%. In fact, I very strongly believe that if Robinhood had not come in and turned off the buy button, that was actually very likely that they could have touched 1,000. Seriously. First of all, I don't think we realized how many people, with the percentage of the US population that was using Robinhood as their broker. So when they killed Robinhood, it really killed the flow. Okay. But $1,000, given the volatility that we had, the volume that we had, and everything, I did some calculations and everything about what it would take to get to 1,000, and it was well within the realm of possibilities. And I strongly believe that if they had not turned off the buy button, they could have gotten 1,000. Now there's this other thing going on where they say they're shorting GameStop with shares that don't exist, because they would come in, there's these estimates of what the float is, and their estimate of the float might be lower than the actual float that they have. And so when you come in and you look at the number of shares short, you get these percentages that are higher, and then you have to factor in options and all of these sorts of things. The GameStop really was like over shorted. Okay. And then there's this thing about the prime brokers that, like, if you're a hedge fund and you go and you ask your prime broker to go short GameStop, okay, your counterpart at Goldman Sachs or wherever it isn't going to say, no, we can't do that. They're just going to process the transaction and let the back office worry about it, right? So now you're short more shares than you have, and the back office has to go and find those shares, to borrow them and whatnot, right? So then there's going to be this guy in the back office in Salt Lake with their hair on fire being like, oh, we're short X thousand shares of GameStop and we don't actually have them, and yada, 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 right? This guy's going to be panicking. These people, they think that happened, and maybe probably there was some of that, because there was they weren't delivering shares and stuff. That probably the back office doesn't always hit what they want, right? But for that situation to be in force, still be around nearly a year later, seems a little far-fetched, right? Seems a little far-fetched. So I don't think that there's necessarily more bears to cover now than more than the 5 to 10% that the short metrics say that they have right now. But given that we just had that really bad day, and then the CEO came in and bought some more, and you got Wall Street Bets buying some, you might see a pop here in GameStop until the end of the week, perhaps. Who knows? It could pick up momentum. Anything's possible, but I don't expect anything more than a short-term short covering rally, right? And yeah, maybe short-term, let's look at 200. But let's just come back and let's just remember, right? Markets are not informationally efficient. They're not. They're just, you got to, that's the very first thing you got to understand. If you're going to trade, that's the first thing you need to understand. Markets are not informationally efficient. Okay. So it doesn't matter what the company's worth. If the orders are out there to buy it up to a price, 1,000, whatever it is, doesn't matter how high it is, it's possible as long as the orders out there exist for it. End of story. But frankly, the price of the stock even today in the like 120s is like frankly a little ridiculous to me. Don't think that that company is going to be worth that much. Even if they succeed, like the thing is the kind of turnaround that they're trying to create, I think is a very high risk. I don't know if they're actually going to pull it off, right? And they're going to have to completely reinvent that company if they're going to survive. We'll see what happens. Okay, UK's Finance Minister Sunak, the Household Support Fund will be doubled to 1 billion for households affected by rising energy costs. So the UK Chancellor Sunak was another kind of risk event that I noticed in my morning briefings and stuff that some people in the debt markets were watching. So China is becoming more globalized. What do you mean by China is becoming more globalized? Because I've seen a couple of headlines that make me concerned that China could all in with Russia, and then you'd really see deglobalization, right? If China assisted Russia in the Ukraine, that would be it, man. Is the stream cutting out? That might. I do have a few skipped frames. Let me reset things. Often when I open up Fidelity, I will get kind of these sorts of things. So let's just close that. The GameStop holders apes are some of the most extreme. I think you meant blasphemy I've ever seen. Say one bad thing about GameStop is blasphemy. Yeah, well, I think that what happened over there was a lot of people that don't know anything about the markets got involved, and they say whatever leads people to buy, and they just believe there's some real confirmation bias and that sort of thing going on there for sure. They're not really living in reality, and it's one of those situations where their belief about what's going on, because they think that they're creating fake shares to short the companies, that kind of leads them to not believe anything that the experts will tell them, right? So you get a pretty crazy situation. So I give you a really good example. They still believe very strongly, even though there is not really any supporting evidence, that the push to squeeze silver on the subreddits after the GameStop fiasco was all a ploy by Citadel to detract attention away from GameStop. They're absolutely convinced. And if you come in and you try and say anything about like metals or some other kind of short squeeze, they think that you're a shill. It's pretty crazy. So I tried posting some stories about the squeeze in nickel, and they just deleted all the posts. Even though, well, the way that turned out in the London Metals Exchange, I don't think that there was any way that anybody could get involved, because it was like they opened back up and then immediately went limit again. They shut it down, and I think like everybody's leaving that exchange now. But I tell you what, if there was any way for retail traders to get involved in that one, that could have been a real disaster, right? So the Treasury, we're seeing a pretty decent amount of volatility here. Not sure we can call the direction of the day yet, can we? Not sure that while UK's Finance Minister Sunak is speaking right now, we might not necessarily want to get involved. What was that? Is that their? It's not the Bank of England. What is it? GBP. No, I don't get it. I don't know. It's not something that's listed on my calendar. Sorry. Well, I'm really interested to see if GameStop shoots off here when they open. Because if GameStop has like another good day, that could be really interesting. It seems like something's wrong here with my YouTube shadow. Are you guys still with me? I haven't dropped any frames. So since we pointed that out, has everything been good? That's so weird. It's telling me that I have 0 concurrent viewers over here, but it says I have 13 over here. I was like, oh, okay. 375, it wouldn't be a terrible place to buy. But why didn't we see that swing up? It could just be regular volatility. There was a decent amount of volume behind it, though. A volume that appears to be continuing to go long, although the market makers are adjusting for it. I don't know, guys. It's been okay on your end? Okay. For some reason, I thought you said Ben Affleck when I first read that. I must have been. I watched a movie with Ben Affleck last night. He must be on my mind. Ben. So he was in this, what is it called? It's like Dark River or something like that. What was it called? Deep Water. It's called Deep Water. Okay. So he's in this psychological thriller called Deep Water. And so I think this is like a serious movie, and I'm like, where are they going with this? Maybe this goes somewhere, could get weird. Is Ben gonna try and kill his wife or something like that? It never goes anywhere. So if you watch this movie, okay, I'm gonna warn you, it's a bad movie. Like watch it from the perspective of it's a bad movie, right? It's so entertaining if you watch it from the perspective of it's a bad movie. If you think it's a psychological thriller and you're expecting something psychologically thrilling to happen, you're going to be disappointed. But if you think that it's, a bad movie comedy sort of a thing, then it's like great fun. Great fun. So that's why I have Ben Affleck on my mind. See, they're coming. The 30-year is shooting back up there pretty hard. Top chat only shows 5. Yeah. YouTube might be being weird this morning. What do you think? What do you think is the driver behind the buying flows that we've seen today? Because you know what's probably one of the biggest flows that we're going to see today? I haven't seen any evidence of it yet, but we got a 20-year auction today, right? And I think that the concern is that they're going to have a hard time finding demand for that auction. So that's one way of taking it, but the S&P 500, well, I don't know. They're retracing a lot of yesterday's rally. Hmm. Russia to demand hostile states pay in rubles for gas. That is something that's going on. Can't bounce my leg without things making a rattling noise. I'm sorry. Mr. Bond, hey, welcome. Thank you for subscribing. Appreciate it. By the way, if you guys subscribe, make sure that you check out the Discord because there's not too much activity there right now, but we would like to at some point build up the members only section of the Discord. So okay, so if I come over to zero hedge here, futures slide as VIX jumps and oil rally accelerates and bond rout fizzles. Unless we see a much sharper and faster sell-off in bonds, we don't think the market will be selling off because of the rise in bond yields. And that's all I'm really seeing at the moment. Sunak still speaking, of course, but I haven't heard anything. I don't know enough about the UK to know where that ends up being significant or not, right? But let's just sit tight here. We might get some opportunities. And kind of eyeing that 37 there. Ruble only up 5% on Russia will only accept rubles for gas now. Okay. Donald Trump dumps Mo Brooks. That's interesting. I wonder what the impact of this change with gas, because of course we need Russian gas to keep prices low to some extent. Of course, nobody's using it, so I don't know. Maybe it doesn't have much of an effect because nobody's using it, but I don't know. Like I'm kind of seeing the market move, or we're trying to attach it to some fundamental flow. I'm not really seeing that. Some of the moves do seem to be within range of recent volatility. Let's see. Your day 3 of Kentanji Brown Jackson confirmation hearing is about to begin. I think we should keep an eye on the confirmation hearings. Because it doesn't sound like it's going very well so far, and I wouldn't be surprised if Republicans try to filibuster her nomination. Ministry of Defense from the UK. We are calling on YouTube to help us support Ukraine by taking down videos doctored by the Russian state and disseminated to try and sap the morale of people fighting for their freedom. Okay. Should that be allowed? What do you think? Well, if they're doctored by the Russian state, I think that I really feel like people should have freedom of speech, but I think that if you're putting videos up that have um that are very clearly disinformation, I mean, like it's clear that you're intentionally trying to, like you changed something, you doctored something, you know, that's basically fraud as far as I'm concerned. And I'm totally down with taking that off, right? Hmm. So coming up there on the higher end of this kind of range we have developed at 27, where the most of the regular session volume has been so far. And uh, in that kind of a situation, well, I don't know. Like they didn't go through it right. It's going to be hard for them to get above 27 half. It's going to be hard for them to get above 27 half, but they did have a strong uptick there. Few people have traded that 37 though in the treasury. For some reason my heartbeat is a little higher than usual. You guys making me nervous for some reason? What's with that? Okay, so there's the uptick. Oh, that's a decent bid. It seems like the 5-year is kind of pulling them. Yeah, you could hit into 37 now if you wanted. Gas buyers will have to sell currency on the Moscow exchange. Yeah, which would then mean that they get more dollars, right? Yeah, you know what? Peter might be right. The ruble may move more on that than it has. Okay, they're continuing. They gonna push the highs? Saudi-led coalition fighting the Houthis in Yemen destroyed 2 explosive-laden boats on Wednesday, which the Iran-aligned group was planning to use in attacks on oil tankers in the south of the Red Sea, Saudi TV reported. Now, I do not drink coffee. I do have some medications that can kind of make my heart beat a little faster, but I don't think it explains right there. Boom, 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 right now. That's a pretty good move there. See, if we had taken that 37, we would have gotten creamed there. What do you think? This is a little curious. I'm kind of feeling, I'm kind of getting that vibe that there's been a significant change out there and we haven't gotten the news yet. I don't think that that's enough for me to try and go short 36, but well, they got smacked back there pretty hard. Hmm. but the flow is definitely to the buy side here in the treasury so far. There is a possibility that they come back into the liquidity hole. I don't know. That was quite the move, and when you look at it, especially in the 30-year. The 30-year just like spiked right through there. 21, 22, 23, 24. Hmm. Yeah, GameStop is up 15% pre-market, guys. So there could be some fireworks in GameStop here, man. I don't think that this is one that I want to participate in, but that's picking up some chatter. Allies are concerned that China could provide material assistance for a Russian attack. That's NATO general. Dude, if China did that, it would be so bad. I have to say. If China provides material assistance to Russia, um, I don't know if I would necessarily be like knee-jerk reaction, but at that point, I think I would probably be sitting there looking for a recession trade, you know? Because if the U.S. starts cutting off China the way that they cut off Russia, that's just going to decimate the world economy. Okay, so they're coming back up. They'll see if they make another push. A 123 and the Treasury doesn't look too far away. We need to work out harder because that's what it is. I feel like my heart is beating faster than it should, though, considering that I'm not in any positions. I'm not sure I'm going to do anything. Seems a little tense. Are you guys a little tense? Are you all long? You must all be short the treasuries there. You must be riding that momentum. You're all that quiet. Looks like gold enjoying some of this decline in interest rates. And LME says nickel contracts traded in ring traded up to preset daily price limit in second ring session on the 23rd of March. Says second ring session on the 23rd of March will be deemed a disrupted session and all agreed trades during this session will be null and void. And now we're in the 50s. It's a pretty decent move down, isn't it? Or up, depending on, I really hate that these ones are opposite of these ones, and then you don't know which one I'm talking about when I say, oh, what's going, because my mind is thinking over here, well, maybe I want to go long, but really your mind might be over here, but look, they're touching 123. Yeah, I'm like at 130 right now. Maybe I accidentally took my medication twice or something. Think I'll be okay, but it's a little weird. Could be a good reason for me to not take any trades. But we'll see. Wonky print there on the S&P. We're seeing a lot of odd moves, wouldn't you say? Even though we've had a really strong move up in the treasuries, it's been a lot of pullbacks on it, right? Yeah, you said your average BPM is 123. So should I try and like really get it good? Yeah, I'm between 120 and 130. I mean, I tend to be high, but oh, okay. Changed names. It's Alex. Is Powell still? I haven't seen any headlines from him. I'm hearing stuff from NATO. I'm hearing. Let's see here. German government official ahead of the EU summit Berlin is not convinced of our proposals so far for an emergency price cap. I don't know. I don't feel like when I'm testing it, I don't feel like I'm getting a strong pulse, you know? Because if it really is 130 and I'm just sitting here, that's a little unusual, right? Could also be that I'm feeling my pulse in my finger and all that sort of stuff, you know? Another short lived. Well, I don't know, man. So that was about, well, let's see here. When we started this out, we were about negative 50K. So this is about 20,000 contracts net bought there for no apparent reason. Liquidity is still pretty terrible, but that was actually more significant of a meta order than some of the other ones that we've seen this week. I just need to go and get a real heart rate monitor. We can put it on here and monitor my heart rate, huh? Well, one thing that I am seeing here that I didn't really mention earlier is that we are seeing a rally in oil. Like we saw a pretty decent move up overnight, and as we've been sitting here, we've seen that rally continue. We're kind of in one of those situations where it's the chart is a little bit deceptive there in the oil because they're moving like several dollars at a time. I'm wondering if this move to require people to use the ruble to buy oil is perhaps a key factor in that. It could be a key factor because that would make it a lot harder to. Why do you say I overslept? No, there's something wrong with me, man. You know what? I actually, when I woke up this morning, I was like uh, dripping in sweat. And I don't know why. My son had a fever. Maybe I'm actually sick and I don't realize it. I don't have one of those finger dingles. I there are things that will isn't there ways that they can like even tell your pulse just from like video? I've seen that. Hmm. That last move there in the treasuries kind of looked like, yeah, maybe we're going to push for the highs again. But I think that it's probably more likely that well, yeah, there you go. It just fell back pretty hard again. Probably you're more likely to see them revolve around 123 for a little bit. Once they got to the 123 area, the volume, the deltas have kind of gone flat. You grab an O2 finger dinky, huh? But I don't want to sit here with a thing on my finger. I've seen these monitors that you like that are very unintrusive and connect to your computer wirelessly and stuff. Maybe I need a watch that does this. If I had an Apple phone, maybe I would get the Apple Watch, but I refuse. I'm very anti-Apple things. You guys seen this studio computer that the Apple fanboys are all gaga over? So they have like a computer that's not really good for much as a desktop. And then they have a desktop that's like insano. Like I only think that like computing farms and like certain kind of businesses that are in the art business, like video production companies, would get these sorts of things. And now they got one that's like an in between. And so they present it as like, well, this is gonna have really good performance and you can game on it and all. Ain't nobody gonna game on this thing. It's $4,000. Are you kidding me? $4,000 for a computer. It's nuts, right? I mean, it's powerful. It's powerful, but what are you gonna do with it? Unless you're a Rolex kind of guy. I'm a no watch kind of guy because all I will do is think about the watch being on my hand and play around with it and prefer to have it off. I tell you what, man. That's that sort of thing. So like you know, I won't go with there. What would be a better example? Yeah, like wearing the wedding ring. Like that was a hard transition to me. Just having something on me all the time that wasn't there before is I I just sit and think about it all the time. So I've had periods in my life where where I got a watch and it didn't like drive me crazy or anything, but I would just eventually I would forget to put it on and forget about it. But if I'm concerned about my heart rate, I'm trying to think back. So I take an Adderall in the morning. I don't think that typically speaking, if I had taken two by accident, it wouldn't be like a huge problem, but it could cause my heart rate to rise a bit because I'm not used to it, you know? I don't feel overly tense, so I'm a little skeptical that that's actually what happened. But I do remember I was almost done eating and I realized, oh, I hadn't taken the medication. So when I took one, and maybe I did do it like first thing. I need to get one of those bottles that tell you the time, you know? I don't seem I don't think that I'm acting different per se, other than that I'm being like a hypochondriac and worried about it. Hmm. Well, there's a lot of volume has gone through at 30. No, I just take regular generic Adderall. Um, if my work situation was different, I would maybe change to a time release. But you know what? My job is not all that stressful. Like when I was working at Goldman, I kind of started to transition. Part of the reason why I was transitioning onto medication was because I felt like I needed to perform better at work to get something. Like towards the end of my stint at Goldman, they were giving me a lot of real. I feel like I was given a project, um, kind of to try and get me to fail, if that makes sense. Like we came into this one project, man. This news squawk is talking a lot about things that I don't know why they would matter, but they're all like European headlines. But it keeps disrupting my thoughts. Anyways, I did this one project and I thought we did really really well with it, and my performance was really good and everybody was happy about it. And then somebody new came onto the team and I don't think that they liked me. And they were more senior and they were kind of testing the waters with him being a manager. And I kind of felt that he was giving me projects that were like, you know, failing projects and were going to be more difficult for you and that you were primed to fail. And it was really hard to stay engaged on some of those things. So like one that I remember doing that was crazy hard was like we had created this system that was managing margin positions, and I had to come up with a bunch of test cases to prove that my code was working to check it in, right? And the way that you did that was you made an Excel spreadsheet. So I had to go through and do all of the tests and get the Excel spreadsheet right. It took me a freaking week. And I mean, it was very tedious. And they were like, what's taking so long? And it was like, well, number one, it's freaking hard. Number two, it's like the worst thing that I could possibly do. But I mean, I was sitting there doing it the whole time. But that was when I started to go, okay, well, I might need to step it up. Let's get on the medication again. Plus, I was dealing with a lot of emotional issues. So I wanted to get on the medication because I couldn't take the emotion anymore from being divorced, right? So I did that, and I things were going better, and I thought things were going okay and everything, and then they let me go. And I was at that point though. It wasn't, oh yeah, you're like the bottom performer, we let you go, sort of a thing. It really was like they were downsizing big time at that point, and I was not a critical. What I was doing wasn't critical. I was working on all of the kind of the side and forgotten projects. They were important and I got them back up to snuff, but you know, I had worked my way out of a job from that, which is actually a common vein with me, is that we actually do get the things done. This is something that I find so weird, is that you'll have some project, right? And it's really important to the business. And you come in and it's in a bad state. And so you come in and you fix it. And then by the time you fix it, it's like not important anymore or something. Right? So it's like you got the job done, but then nobody cares, I guess. That happened to me a couple of times, especially in the QA world. So in the QA world, you get your job done and like nobody notices anymore. is what it is. It's like, oh, QA, we just don't worry about QA anymore because we never have any, none of it ever breaks. But we didn't need that group anymore. So then we became the site reliability engineers, right? And then we started to fix this other system. And by the time we had fixed this other system, it was like, oh, let's move to this system. So then we have to go and redo it all over again. And then you finish that. And then it's like, oh, but now we're going to move things to Azure. It's just like that sort of thing over and over again. Whereas a lot of other places I've seen, it's been like, you just never finish it and they give up on it, But anyways, they didn't need me anymore, so I didn't do that. But then I stayed on it because of the emotional stability. And I take one Adderall in the morning, because otherwise I don't really get the motivation. I don't really get things done, so I still need that like little kick in the morning. But then after that, I'm fine. But if I was really getting into stuff where it was like if I was given more responsibility at work and I was managing other people, for instance, then maybe I would have to switch over to something like a Vyvanse. Yeah. So that was a long personal story, probably more personal than I should have gotten, but that's kind of my approach right now. So, because it's better for me to keep the creativity side as much as I can and to be relaxed, because what happens with me if I'm on the Adderall too much is it gets tense, right? Like it fixes the problem. Like the way that if you're taking Adderall, you don't really have ADHD, is it kind of gives you euphoria. I don't get that at all. Don't get that at all. In fact, and I can sleep on it too, by the way. It's actually easier to sleep on it. But it makes me tense. My muscles will start to twitch, and I'll grind my teeth more and that sort of a thing. So the S&P 500 has opened up here. The action over there is pretty lackluster. It's slightly tilted to the downside, but I haven't really seen a very strong move in volume. I do analyze myself a lot, yeah. Well, you become very self-introspective, right? There's this other streamer. There's this girl that I watch from time to time. She doesn't stream very often, but I like to watch her because she's the same way. She analyzes herself a lot. But the way that she analyzes herself is really weird, because she's really, I think probably a lot of women are just like this, but like way overly self-conscious about themselves, Like, oh, I don't have any friends and I don't have any of that and all these sorts of things. And I'm like, you realize that most people only have one or two really good friends, if that? Especially now after the pandemic. Like, yeah, you like Vyvanse because you take it in the morning and it's pretty keen, kill the whole day. Well, so the problem that I had, so when I started, ugh, I think it was they started me on 15, and 15 didn't seem to be quite enough to get me to where I needed to be. And so when we upped it to 20, 20 was way too much. And what would happen is when the medication wore off, oh, I would be so depressed. And it didn't help that there was a girl I was really into that had just kind of fell off a cliff. I think that there was one, there was another guy, but two, she was dealing with some pretty severe grief at that time, and I think kind of just pulled away from everything. She's like, you know, talk to me, in 3 months, and then I did, and it's just, I kind of felt like that it was just they were just kind of person that doesn't want to tell you what's really going on. Uh, but I was very unhappy about it. and and then I'd be coming off of the Adderall. It was just like I would cry every day, dude. I would cry every day in my car on from work to the gym. And then by the time I was dressed and ready to go at the gym, then I had kind of gotten over the what do you call it? Forget what you call it, but coming off the cliff. I have friends on Facebook that spend almost zero time on the internet that think I spend too much time on the internet because they post about stuff they don't see in the media and whatnot. But you are the kind of dude they think I am. Probably, that's my thing, man. 'Cause I read a lot of news. I read a lot of news. In my position, it's okay, but it's not. It's probably not a healthy thing for most people, right? You have to be, I think, to do what I do. I think that you have to be a really self introspective person. You have to be the kind of person that really sits down and thinks about, okay, well, here's what I think, and here are the tendencies that I tend to fall into, and where the kinds of stories that they're going to try and manipulate me with and stuff. There's a lot of stuff that I come across on TikTok that it's absolutely in my area of interest, but I scroll past it because I don't think that it's good for me. Like, I would love to just sit and watch people yap about technical analysis charts all day and then try and argue with them about why technical analysis doesn't work. But I know that it's just not really beneficial for me to even watch their TA videos. So it kind of stopped showing them to me. There's a noticeable personality difference when you hit that too much time on the internet line. Yeah. Well, I mean, the whole thing is all day I work a developer job, and so every 5 minutes I'll come in and browse or whatever. Every 30 minutes, really. Do a break, come read a quick video, read a quick story, come back. When I come home in the evening, I want to go through my major news outlets and make sure I caught every headline and read all the stories that I wanted to. There's spending time reading news, and then there's spending time empathizing with people on the internet. Well, I don't talk to people on the internet as much anymore. Oh my god, I totally spaced. There's something important to tell you guys. Oh man, I can't believe that it didn't even occur to me now. You guys remember bots? He hosted the stream a few times. He passed on. Yeah. I was on Facebook and they had a post on Facebook. They had posted it like Monday night. They didn't say what happened or whatever. I hadn't heard from him in a while. I was kind of expecting him to pop in with some new indicators and stuff to try and backtest and stuff, but yeah, he passed on. And I got to tell you, of people that like I regularly talk to, like he was it. Yeah, he was like possibly my best friend of the past 5 years, and he's gone. I would like to go to the funeral. The funeral is tomorrow, but it's in Canada, and I'm not vaccinated, so yeah, it's really sad, right? Now I'm quite shocked. It's the S&P 500 trying to turn around here. The treasuries are certainly flipping here. I don't know if you're getting the best prices, but it's really shocking, right? I mean, he was old, but he wasn't that old. He was in his 60s, I think. He had quit smoking. I don't know. All of this stuff, a lot of these things about like, oh, there's an 8:30 around 10:30 Eastern time. There's kind of this reversal time period after the first initial move, and that okay, my knee just jerked. That's definitely like maybe I did take too much. Yeah, he was so you could tell from his voice that he was a smoker, and all the stuff about the auctions and the particular things that tend to move. I learned all that stuff from him. I also learned a lot about volume profile from him. Not that I used that, but actually the things that he used in volume profile are actually probably have a little bit more empirical backing than most. Like I went and did some testing on the bull bear zone. So like they say, there's an X% chance that we're gonna do this or that, right? I went and did the bull bear zone, and it was like, if we meet this certain metric, well, I'll tell it to you. If you take the extended session open and the extended session high, and then the 50% point of that, and if we're above that point, then we'll tend to close higher. And if we're below on the other side, then we'll tend to close lower. And it's like a 70% outlay. And that was all his idea. Honey, I'm home. Did you have a good day at work? Yes, I won 2 arguments on Reddit. I tell you, every time I start an argument with somebody on Reddit, I regret it these days. It used to be fun, but now it's like the people over there are just crazy. The people over there are just crazy. I really feel like it's kind of weird because I've really might have made my own home, here, because there's you guys are here every day and we talk every day, and I know, I every name that I can see right here, right now, I recognize all of you. It's the same group of people every day. It's really kind of weird to me. Why is it that YouTube, we have such a dedicated audience? How come YouTube doesn't push it out to more people? I'll never know, but it's fine, right? Like we found the people that we need. There's not that many people that are super engaged in futures and are going to be able to listen to a stream, right? Like you're my home, right? But that's not the way that it used to be. It used to be I'd play Unreal Tournament and we were chatting all the time, and I would meet people and I had good friends and we'd talk on Discord and all that sort of stuff. And now not really. Not so much. Like I have the interaction on the stream, and then the interaction with my family. I don't really have really consistent interactions with many people outside of that. So, I am seeing a bit of a reversal in the flows in the 5-year. I'm kind of, well, okay. Well, let's see if it goes. You say I'm looking really good today? We've been worried because it seems like my heart rate has been a little bit elevated today. Not a little bit elevated, actually quite a lot elevated. But I'm only noticing because I could feel my heart pounding in my chest, like it was pounding hard. I don't think I've been consistent enough working out. Like what'll happen is the wife has been gone on weekends and I don't work out on Saturdays, and then I'm kind of recovering back out on Monday, and I don't really get into the really good, So I don't think that my fitness is quite where it should be. Man, baby has been very unhappy this morning. Well, by the way, remember I was complaining about how I was getting too much chatter on from the news squawk about European things that I don't think matter. Well, I think that Sunak finished speaking, and the chatter on that has completely died down, and we're just seeing the E-mini trade right now. Have you ever studied the TLT, TBT moves and correlate them to the ZN? Um, I haven't studied the spreads as much as I would perhaps like to. I think in part because it's a little bit more difficult to do things. Like for instance, if I want to see how does the S&P 500 behave in this situation, and I create a potential trade that I see around that, and I can just straight back test it, right? But if I want to do that with a spread, I have to create a multi-instrument strategy, and the stats that you get are different and everything else like that. So, because you can't create like a synthetic instrument, if it would let you create a synthetic instrument and test the synthetic instrument, then it would probably be a little bit different, right? So seems to be a great deal of mean reversion in the uh, in the yield curve, but uh, you're seeing me always talking about it, right? So it's like, well, it's kind of risen here, it's falling. We've actually, since we've had this, there was that initial move where we oh, sorry. Overnight we steepened a little bit, and then this whole rally that we've had, they flattened out. This is what I meant to say. What's wrong with your heart? Make sure you balance out. Oh, I've been a high heart rate. Like I think when we tested it, and maybe I was just getting double heartbeats from my finger, but I was like testing 120, 130. So it seemed that my heart rate was high. So far, here in the Treasury, it seems to me that um the upside pressure that we've had in the 10-year is largely just risk off. You can see like the S&P 500 is now moving lower there to new lows after 20 minutes of kind of chopping around. Let's zoom in here on the 1 minute chart so I can get a better look at it. Well, there was a little bit bigger of a drop when it dropped through 44.70. But I don't know if when I see movement like this in the ES, I'm kind of like, well, something's going on. Like they're turned really bearish again all of a sudden. Could just be because oil prices are going up, but I don't know. Some of these moves kind of give me this feeling that like there's something that we don't know yet that would be materially important to trading right now. you know, okay, there's a strong up move there. The 30-year coming back up to 148.26. Possibly because of the ES move in there. Yeah, news at 10. Mm-hmm. Kremlin spokesman confers Chubais resigned, did so of his own accord. Putin says Russia will keep rates unchanged for special mortgage programs despite a recent surge in the cost of lending. The treasuries are kind of all of a sudden hinting that like they're going to try and make another run at the highs. They're making it look like it. I don't know if they're actually going to do it, but those last two ticks sure kind of make it seem like it could happen. 30 not quite going along yet. What's this? The RF has opened an anti-EU front. Putin announced the gas payments transfer to RU and the rejection from the dollar euro, leading to operational failures and pressure on public opinion. Second step to escalation. First one is threat of strikes on EU logistics centers for the help to UA. Well, not exactly the flows that we want to see. Nope. Okay. So we'll bail on that one. I wish I had been able to get it at 5, but that's okay. I may just be puking at the very bottom. I don't know. Say it's a good VWAP bounce. Yeah. It did kind of bounce off the VWAP. I guess we do get new home sales at the top of the hour. I think the possibility of the rates raising again today, I think kind of really faded with that move though, right? I'm wondering if the markets are concerned about escalation in Ukraine. So like there's this one here I'm seeing more people retweet. Kremlin spokesman confirms Chubai has resigned, did so of his own accord. I don't know. I don't understand the significance of that. Hmm. 2 additional yachts in southern France linked to Russian oligarchs immobilized by French authorities. No, it may yet move higher, but I don't think that the spot that I got was necessarily the spot I was hoping for. Hmm. The ES just turned there really well, didn't they? Hmm. Yeah, the 30 is kind of looking a little strong there. And the the 5-year is the weakest of the bunch, but the 5-year just absorbed a pretty good hit there on the bid. You can see the 30 uptick in offer week. NATO allies set to agree for additional support to Ukraine against nuclear and chemical threats, says Stoltenberg. Russian authorities have a week to implement the new ruble system for the gas buyers. Oh, it's going to be gas too. Hmm. Do you think maybe that's what they're moving off of? Is this move that the Russians are saying you have to pay us in rubles now? Because the Europeans were still depending on them for gas. If that's the case, then we should be seeing natural gas. Well, natural gas was up earlier, though it's coming back quite a bit. Right there, the 10-year upticks. Marco Rubio tweets, Russia's trying to make a final decisive push on Mariupol. One day, everyone will hear the incredible stories of the brave men defending the city right now against all the odds. Hearing about Mariupol just kind of is depressing to me, man. That is such... The Russian military strategy is literally is bomb the civilian areas to the ground and move in. Okay, so new home sales forecast change month over month and -2 with a forecast of 1.1. Now that's not very good. I don't know if that would necessarily affect the treasury so much. Equity is probably not going to be very happy about it. Normally, you would expect it to affect the treasuries more, right? But I think that's kind of the intention. U.S. Senator Manchin ready to engage on reconciliation, says Politico. Sources told E&E News that the West Virginia Democrat views an April-May timeframe for reaching a deal on a scaled-back budget reconciliation deal. Treasury is moving back there a little bit, not able to push that high again yet. Same with the S&P. They came right to the low and did a small little bounce. Iran foreign minister says they're closer than ever before to a nuclear deal. Well, you would think if that was the case that oil would be taking a hit here, but I'm not seeing that. Gold seems to be running here. 1935 now. Kind of a large, somewhat larger bid showing at 123 in the 10-year. Seeing some spreading. I'm seeing some flattening increasing. Yeah, like the 30 is still right where it is, but both the 10 and the 5 now have downticked a little. See us gonna go there? Hmm. Maybe not. I don't know. Seems awfully close there to not do it. It really is like giving up all of yesterday's rally in ES. So failure here somewhere below 44.65 could be significant in the equity indexes. Hmm. 30-year tick down that time. I'm kind of getting this thing again where my entries are just all really bad. You noticing that lately? Hmm. And I've been trying really hard to be patient and pick good spots too. You think that you'll see a good pop? I think there might be another pop higher, but I'm not so sure because I'm still a little uncertain on why we've seen the bull move that we've had today in the treasuries, right? And there is the whole auction thing. I guess on auction days we do tend to move up, but I'd still be really concerned that there's not going to be demand for the 20-year. So we'll see. I haven't really seen flows here today that tell me like really strong auction trades are coming through though. I haven't seen anything that really screams that to me yet. So usually you get those big icebergs in certain spots and stuff. You say you're getting good spots and holding too long. I mean, it's trended all the way up. I don't. It's just kind of funny. Like as soon as I get in, whatever kind of momentum we had going a certain way just completely disintegrates, and I never get a positive tick my way. That's kind of been the story for the past 2 weeks, actually. It hasn't been that long, but when I go back to what was it, Monday? No, 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 Monday, not Monday. It was last Friday. That's last Friday. That's definitely what it was doing to me, man. It was very, very frustrating. And then when I'm kind of like, well, I don't want to trade this. I don't feel like I know what's going on. Then it runs and runs and runs and runs. Well, the S&P 500 broke a higher high there. Shoot, I can't give this anymore. I have to scratch that one too. But watch. Now that I've gotten out, like that's going to be like right where it pivots. Let's reset things so we can track. OS3 partners are tweeting some stuff. Wow, Bed Bath & Beyond still has a large portion of short interest in it. Okay, GameStop, 20% short interest of float. 12 million shares. 12 million shares would be more than enough to move it. We totally forgot what we were doing. Let's go and see what they did so far, huh? Launch chart. They haven't beaten the overnight highs, but they're doing pretty good so far at 137. Dollar making a move here. Allow yourself more risk. That may be what I need to do. But I'm not really in a position where I feel really confident about the direction though. So I don't know if taking more risk here really makes sense. Yeah, the book did thicken up, didn't it? It's kind of been doing that at this time of day, hasn't it? Hmm. Why do you think it is the book thickens up at this time? It's really been the last 10 minutes that it's happened to, huh? Well, when you start to get a trend and then the book thickens up, that often means that like more people are getting involved, right? That can be an indication of continuation. The S&P 500 is turning back down again. They did make a higher low and a higher high, but we'll see what their next swing does. The volume over there in the ES is pretty mixed. Yesterday, did you well look at the cumulative delta yesterday on ES? There was like some massive, well, here I can show you. It's still on this chart. Do you see here? There's like yesterday, we had this huge move up, a really big move up, hardly any change in delta. Then, no, actually, this isn't the day that we want to look at right here. It does big move up and then kind of a little bit of a pullback and like huge amounts of trades short. And then it kind of stayed down there for the rest of the day. So, like, some people were really going short the futures. The market orders were really going short for some reason. It's very odd to see that big of a discrepancy, that big of a divergence between the cumulative delta and the volume in the S&P 500. Very, very unusual. Well, Treasury's still kind of just chilling around 30. Of all the problems I've heard with Mo Brooks, I've heard from Republicans, I gotta say wokeness has not been frequently mentioned. Ukrainian president asked French MPs to observe a minute of silence in memory of Ukrainian victims. There are some shorts out there, man. Okay. So there's ES actually heading higher. Well, if the trade here in the treasuries is that it's just mean reversion. You want to see how they react to 29? Well, here's your opportunity. Panic short covering. Well, they're coming back to the open now, and yes, they're turning bullish. Hmm. That took me a little bit too quickly. I tried to scratch that. They took my order a little too easily. Now, this rally may just be because of the dollar dropping there. Pretty well correlated with the drop in the dollar. Not really seeing oil change directions yet. No, Nestle did suspend products, so they were getting a lot of pressure because they hadn't pulled out, and everybody thinks that Nestle is evil anyways, so not surprised they gave in. Well, there's not a whole lot hitting into that 29 that you were looking at, is it? They may go, though. Yeah. You want me to turn it around here? Check it out. Check it out. Watch. We can make this. This is going to go down. It's going to plunge below 2.35 now. There's a big order there at 29.5 now. It's not. I was thinking about helping that guy with that 36 to 6, but somebody took care of him. Hmm. Okay, so there was a little bit of a hit back there, and then iceberg at 28 showed up. And 27.5 is taking a hit too, though. 5 year seems to really be driving it. So we are seeing some flattening. Not quite the same with the 2 year, though. Man, what is my son crying about? He's been so unhappy today. I think he's sick. Uptick. Offer again. 4,300. This could be a trade from the auction, right? The heck? I just barely bumped my microphone thing and it fell there. Maybe the grip on that is starting to fail. Oh, mom's got him. Well, I was hoping that maybe the treasuries were just going to blow through these levels, but it looks like they're going to kind of they're going to pause here a little bit and see which way they actually want to go. There was some volume there down at the bottom of that, though, right? Lock him up, or do you mean look him up? What do you mean by that? I've found that when I get involved, that often doesn't help, just because it's too much of a distraction. So, okay, there's your tick down. That's the most favorable action I've gotten all morning. You meant check him out. Yeah, okay. I wasn't sure if you were saying, "Oh, I can hear it. You need to go put chains on that child, put him in a closet where we can't hear him." Tough when you can scalp 4 ticks on ZN for $2 on micros. Yeah, it's like, well, isn't it kind of weird though with how it's like? Well, it's not weird, but don't you find it frustrating where it's like you get in and it's difficult to even get 2 ticks, but then you come back and you look and there was like swings of 16 ticks in ZN? It's really funny how that works sometimes. But it's kind of the nature of a thick instrument when you get the liquidity holes, right? That's why it's like I kind of prefer to get into a spot where there's nothing significant about it. Does that make sense? You want to get in when it's like really dull and predict the next move, and then that's when you can catch the ones that go for a bit. scalp ZN for ticks. You know, I've been doing sim trades for ticks on ZN and doing pretty okay with it lately, although I take on a lot of risk when I do them. It seems to me if I was swinging the treasuries that I could probably have done really, really well this year. But this is kind of a special situation, right? It won't always be like that. ZB dragging him down there. So, by the way, in terms of cumulative delta, the treasuries are almost back to their lows of the day. So there is selling in this thing, yeah. But there's clearly two ways. There's been some passive bits and so forth. You know, like just right there at 26.5. 25.87 have traded and they're able to make it go bid again, right? So I suppose it makes sense that the sellers would be using more market orders and be more aggressive. But there's clearly somebody buying. Oh man, I forgot that today there's the crude oil inventories. Given that we're up like what, almost $5 in oil, that's going to be a pretty cray oil inventory report. You're short micro CL? Man. You like to live dangerously, my man. I actually that is kind of appealing to me, but I know that I'm not very good with oil in these kind of situations. Especially ahead of the oil report here, man. You better hope that that's a build, huh? You don't know what you're doing? Dude, if you don't know what you're doing, don't trade oil then. You got to know your stuff to trade oil for real. The market makers over there in oil are real sharks, man. They know the oil traders, they know their shit. Okay, well, your money. I hope it works out for you. Hey, we had a really good bear run there, and it's already like 1 or 2 ticks back, and it's coming back. Like, what the heck? Well, I was like, did ZP like really reverse there? Not really. Not really. So I'm kind of, that is a little odd that the yields came back as much as they did. There's still 2 ticks down compared to the 10-year. Can futures brokers execute my orders in a non-favorable way? Well, like if you run out of margin, they could take you out of a position for sure. Yeah. Why do some have more expensive commissions? Because they have better support. They pay when you call them, the person that they're paying to be on the line with you gets paid more. And that's the difference. Is my general understanding of it. With the way that things are these days, I kind of wonder, like, do we really need the brokers? Why can't every individual just connect directly with the exchange? Like, I get 100 years ago, and then that system is just carried over to today. But why can't we all just connect directly to the exchange? Why do you have to outsource it to data providers and a futures broker? You know, don't completely understand. Well, the executions have a lot more to do with your data provider than they do the brokers, right? They go through the CQG or rhythmic route. That's what's kind of funny about it. Like, you can make money being everybody says, I'd rather be the broker. Well, why does AMP have so much slippage? Because retail traders have so much slippage. I don't think that AMP gives you more slippage than other people. Yeah, brokers supposed to manage rollovers, margin, etc. I mean, I'm way simplifying it, right? Okay, there was a draw. That's not very good for your oil short. You trade with a small amount? Yes, sir. Yes, Yassine Franklin. Teeny tiny trades. Nothing too serious. Every once in a while, I'll come across an opportunity that I really feel strongly in, and I'll take a bit and lose $1,000 or whatever. But usually, I'm just paying a few dozen dollars. Yeah, so we're getting who are we getting this from? I'm hearing something from about a Fed speaker saying that they prefer to front load the rates. Fed's Mester, I guess. Might help us on our long rates trade here. Anyways, I don't envy the position that brokers are in. It's really hard. It's very competitive and hard to differentiate yourself. Okay, so we just got a bunch of comments from Fed's Mester. They were pretty much in line with what she said last night. She thinks that they're going to have to do 50 basis point moves, and she'd prefer that they front load them. So I think that we're going to probably continue to see the probability of a 50 basis point hike in May increase. And I don't know, that June one is starting to look really likely as well. Or is it July? I don't remember. Anyways. But so far, Treasury's still chilling here. That 27 has flipped many, many times here. Remember, 26 the open. So okay, well, oil did rise on that move, but it wasn't too crazy. Just up to 114. Yeah, there's a lot. Like, that's the thing, is that there's a lot of the things that the broker does that, like, most of us never deal with, So I totally understand why so many retail traders go with AMP. They don't necessarily have the best service or the best system, but they're cheap. And, like, what else are you getting? Because the things that you get by paying more for commissions are things that hopefully you never have to use, right? Nah. I would rather be the exchange. Yes, the exchange. They're the ones making the money, right? 2 down ticks there in the 10-year. That was quick. That time, though, the 5-year dragging them down. So it looks like somebody wants to put a flattener on here. Still getting like all of the tweets from Fed's Mister's comments. I have no concerns that rate increases are going to push the U.S. economy into a recession. Reducing inflation will necessitate some deliberate policy actions on our side. Some of the increases in wages are seeing are outdoing productivity growth. From both sides of the mandate, we need to get inflation under control. NFTs rule over the exchange and the regulatory baddies too. Yeah, I think being at an HFT firm probably not too bad. Well, they go through, you got to remember there are markets that are unfavorable to the market makers, and some of this volatility that we've had in Ukraine probably qualifies. And then Treasury had 2 quick ticks down and now right back up. Trading across 27 again. The 30 hasn't budged though. Seems like it's the 10 is the one that's kind of holding back. Is a little bit more bullish. You see that one, they ticked up 27.58 and then the 5-year was forced up with it. Excuse me. I accidentally hit the microphone with my water bottle there. Arbitrage HDFTs, maybe? It really makes you wonder with the way that, well, like when I look at it, I really seem like the opportunity for locals, the opportunity for retail traders to make money would have been on arbitrage and market making, and the robots completely take that over. And it seems like that the robots are seeing a lot of consolidation too, that like it's really narrowing down to a few specific firms. And I can't see that being good for the market in the long run. You know what I mean? Hmm. Well, the treasuries did tick up 2 ticks, but I have to say that all of the movements on ticks here are like really like it just ticks. I'm not. It's probably a lot to do with correlations and stuff. Like this move that we had down seemed to correlate with the move down in the dollar really well, and now that the dollar is kind of mean reverting a little bit with the 6J turning down to some extent. Although the 6J is not coming back up with this move up in the 30 and 10. The 30s seem to really go there till though. And the S&P 500 has really chilled out since they basically came back to the open. Using Robinhood flow to derive risk. Well, it's not risk-free alpha, right? Like that's the thing that I think is kind of funny about that whole situation is that the what really makes the Robinhood order flow useful is for them to go, oh nope, I want to get out. I don't want to touch this flow. That's what they're really doing it for. So they see the flow first and they can say, oh well, that's more flow that could be informed trading. I'm gonna pull my orders. I'm gonna let that one go to the exchange. That's kind of weird. And here again, it's like, it's so hard to get 2 ticks and then, oh, 6 ticks just like that. Those are the big boys. Well, like I'm not necessarily seeing big volume trading through that or anything too. That's why I think that a lot of what we're getting here is some sort of a correlation, although I can't sort out what it's being correlated to because it's not moving necessarily with the 6J. The 6J does seem to have come back now a little bit. Well, maybe I just can't see the chart in enough detail to see that it was the 6J, but with the way that the flow is ticking through here, the most likely scenario here is that the currency flows are the dominant factor here. There is the auction today, but I don't know. Maybe the action that we've seen in the treasuries and the currency flows and everything suggests that there's going to be pretty decent foreign demand for the 20-year, maybe. That would be something that I would watch when that happens, right? Man, like since it's come through at 29, like the market orders just like completely disappeared. There's a lot more action in the 5-year than the others, but there's a lot of people trading the micro 10 on a relative basis today, by the way. Oh, what was that? 30-year ticked down. You say the amp margins are ridiculous and volatility. I don't know about that, man. Like, I kind of wonder if the brokers should really be offering day trade margins. Like, why not just force you to have the exchange margin for it? Well, because you wouldn't get very many customers, right? But like, if you're really doing what's probably best for you, probably you should just be going off of the regular margins for the contract, right? So otherwise, if you're using the day trade margins, you're going to be over leveraged. Oh, I'm getting more from Fed's Mester, and she's saying part of her forecast assumes that the war will not escalate a lot. Putin advisor bails over Ukraine war, flees Russia. That I'm really interested to understand why that story is getting tweeted so much. Bit of a test of the lower end of the range there in ES. 6J diving back down again, but the treasury is not really moving. Uptick. I mean, it seemed to me like the correlation is with the 6J. That seems to contradict that, right? Look at the, you can see it right there. This is the 6J. Look at that. They're diverging on this last move. Oil moved higher. Is there correlation with oil? Could be. When oil hit its lows there, just before the build news. Now, since then, you've seen the treasuries move up with oil. Could be oil correlation. I don't like big government, but I think that government oversight is very necessary. This is where I'm very much opposed to this kind of idea of like, well, the government could do it and it would kind of be nice, so let's let them do it. No, just stop giving them so much power over your life, please. Okay. But then on the other side, there are reasons to maybe like rethink corporate governance that the government could make changes there. Yeah. Are there things that the government could do to help the market be more efficient? Yeah. This market's not very efficient. And yeah, it's inevitable. These financial systems are actually very unstable. There's always eventually going to come a point where they have to step in and do something. Well, guys, I do not know what the fuck is wrong with me when it comes to the treasuries these days, but I just can't seem to catch a winner for the life of me. I was able to get 9 favorable ticks on that last one, but then it's flipped right back up to the highs for no apparent reason. And I'm getting sick of it. There's something weird going on here with the level 2 in the treasury. That was kind of weird. Fuck. Maybe I should just take a week or 2 off, man, because I'm on such a dismal losing streak and I really can't sort out why. I haven't had that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 losers in a row. What? How is that happening? And on all of those, well, actually, there's a few that I was able to get some favorable ticks on, but then they just came back on me. What the hell am I doing wrong here? Don't understand. Well, I'm tempted to come in and revenge trade now, but I think that today is that's enough for today. Good God, I mean that's like $100 in a week. It's a very saddening. I do think that today I kind of started to get just caught up in the action and just taking, trying to take hits. I am, oil just moved higher there. And the treasuries do seem to be going with it. So I think that perhaps the oil correlation is what is moving the treasuries today, and perhaps those headlines about the Russian ruble and all of that sort of stuff. You should have crushed it today, you would think, right? I don't know, man. I don't think I'm doing anything different. I don't understand how it goes from like all you ever do is win to all you ever do is lose. It's like it's intentionally going against me every trade that I make. Nah, I don't think that this is easy trading action at all. Not in the treasury. Maybe if you had caught that initial long. I mean, look at it. It's quite rangy and random. It's quite rangy and random, and the swings are quite strong. They're like 15, 16 tick swings. So it is. I don't know. Like you call it an inside date, but I'm just saying, like, look, man, that right there is 16 ticks. That is 16 ticks. That is 13 ticks, right? And we were involved in all of those the wrong way somehow. But the thing that weirds me out about it is I'll take a trade and then that's exactly where it turns. And you can only do that so many times before it's like, what's going on? Well, we'll keep going. But if something doesn't turn here for us soon, I'm gonna have to change something. I don't know what I'm gonna do, but it may just be that we just stop trading it and just sit here and chill. I don't know. It's not really anything else you can do, right? Given how it's been behaving today, I think that the auction today is going to be super interesting, don't you think? Did I prefer longs here today? Let's see. Buy, sell, buy. Hmm. What gets me is just how bad the adverse excursion is compared to the favorable excursion. I should be able to get more than 2 or 3 ticks favorable excursion, especially when the spread is practically 5 ticks. You know what I mean? Like that's the thing is if I had my target out at 5 ticks away, still wouldn't have winners. Had one, we'd have one. Like how the hell? Right? It's definitely the oil correlation here. This market is concerned that high oil prices are going to cause a recession. That's what the treasuries are saying to me today. And the oil correlation is not something that I pay a whole lot of attention to, you know. Hmm. And I does kind of make me wonder with some of the ways that I'm seeing the volume if I'm not affecting the market here too much. Like if that's the case, then we just can't trade on stream. It seems silly, but in this kind of volatility and the kind of the tie stops that we're trying to use, it can definitely lead to that. Well, here's the treasuries all the way back. Makes me just want to go long again. Fuck. That kind of behavior doesn't really tell you that you really actually have good trading action anyways, right? So I'm not gonna mope too much more here, guys. I'm stop yelling, NASDAQ killer. like I know that I sit and think about it for a day or two, I will think differently about it, but we did have some, like, one of the things that's frustrating is we had some periods of success and I didn't really take very good advantage of it, and now I'm just getting slaughtered in this mess here. I just don't think that what we're doing here is very viable. Even if we have it, like, everything in our favor, like we know what the market does, we know what to do, and all on so forth, it doesn't mean that you're gonna make money from it. There's a bit of luck involved, and some people never get it. There's nothing to get. I mean, is there anything to get? I don't know, man. When you say it like that, that presupposes that there is some sort of a pattern that I could just be following, right? And I think we have a considerable amount of evidence to show that it doesn't work that way. And if it did work that way, then let's just have the pattern, you know? No. But all I can say is that, like, a dozen losers in a row shouldn't happen. That has to be something wrong with me. And I don't think that I'm doing anything different. So, like, it means that the consistency of what we're doing is not there to justify doing it. Right? Mm-hmm. I feel like we should just continue trading out this account, and we can continue to do that for a long time. But if we really trade this whole account through, I think I should just quit. Like, I should wake up in the morning and read and not stream anymore. That last one that I lost on, I did get a little bit both ways, and I was in for a long time. So I think part of what's going on here is that the volatility is higher than my targets, or what I'm trying to get, my stops. Reading great. Yeah, I don't know, man. It kind of comes back to this thing of, like, what else am I going to do? If I'm not going to trade in the morning, I really need to have something to occupy myself with. And well, forward testing. Well, I think the thing is, one of the things that I see a lot, like I saw this on the forum the other day, is like, when people start out this trading, especially, and the young kids, I really think they make it about their ego. You know, It's really like, well, most people fail because they're stupid and I'm smart and I'm more persistent than other people and I'm gonna work it out until I succeed, sort of a thing, right? Everybody that starts is, you have to think that to start, knowing the odds, knowing that the odds are 95%, right? And I think that people make it into this, well, if I decide that I can't do it, then I'm making some sort of admission about an inadequacy in myself. And I really don't think that that's what it is. I think that the game that we're trying to play is to a large degree rigged against us. Unless you have the front of the queue or you have information that nobody else has, you're not likely to be profitable, right? And your inability to get to the front of the queue or to know everything that's going on, that's not you, right? That's not because of you. That's just the way things are. So the thing that would be egotistical would be to continue going, you know? It's okay to sit back and say, well, given what the situation is, we're not going to be successful doing this. And we've always kind of said that, right? You're just talking about, this is not, none of what you're saying is helpful, right? What would be helpful would be like, well, we need to do X, Y, and Z, and we can backtest it, and here's some empirical evidence that would suggest that you can do this thing, right? No. But if we come in and we know everything about the market that you really, I mean, we really know that what we're talking about is true because the stuff that we have is research backed. And I think that 6 years it's maybe not uncommon for you to get lucky enough on it. I mean, come on. Don't you understand? There's nothing to get. You're wrong. Prove it. Guys, there's nothing to get. I have taught you like some of the most advanced knowledge that we have out here about the markets, okay? There is not this pattern that you can just follow and you have to try long enough to find it or something. It doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. You might find one that does well for you in a certain market period, and then people will just ride the success of that for the rest of their careers. That's what happens a lot of the time, right? What we know kind of suggests that you're not going to be profitable scalping futures. Kind of does. Doesn't mean that it's not impossible. It means that it requires certain resources and so forth, and I don't think that we have them. Right? So if we decide that we gave it the best shot that we can ever give it and give up, that's just doing the smart thing, I think. Because that's like 2 hours of my day that I could be spending on, who knows, reading about machine learning, I guess. Getting a CTA license or something like that. Because the thing is that if we had a longer term swing expectancy strategy or something like, we can execute well. I should be able to execute really well. If I have to come in and buy a certain amount, I think I could do that really well. But if I don't know which way it's going to go, we don't have anything that will predict that unless there's like some news that people are really missing. And that's not those situations where that happens. It seems it's too inconsistent. And I really took back from taking risk for a really long time. And now we're taking on more risk again. And it's just like dismal. It's just dismal performance. So hate to be a bummer to you guys, but I just at the moment don't really see a way forward. So we'll keep trading this. We'll trade it tomorrow. When I define a scalp, I mean like day trades where you're in for maybe 5 minutes to a few hours. Just flipping a coin with a little edge is profitable. False. Listen, if you have like a 51% edge or something like that, and you're gonna lose the spread, right? We could go program that tomorrow if you don't believe me. Yeah, you can do it by taking on risk, but then you have the fat tail, right? That's what we've been doing, frankly. We've just been managing the risk in a way that's kind of profitable for us in a different way. You get this sort of a thing. What do you do when your coin flips heads on you 12 times in a row? Because it's probably going to happen eventually. Yeah, just taking on more risk is not the answer. Well, I mean, you can make money in the short term. We do. I could come in here and trade. Make a computer science channel, please. Well, we're probably, if we continue making content here on the channel, I am going to continue making content on the channel, or I intend to. And I have a video about computer monitors that I need to finish editing. And then I have a couple of larger topics that I want to talk about that are going to kind of be more relevant current issues. So, and if we have the mornings, if I'm just stop streaming, I can do that stuff. I don't want to disappoint. Like, here's the thing that what made you exit the trade? It was just, I was just taking too big of a loss. Reached my risk limits on it. Look, it looks like it was a good trade in the end, right? Like, I could be up on the trade a little bit if I had held on it. So probably the bigger problem here is that the volatility is still too high for me to be trading. Like, I should be waiting until they have 3000s out there. Maybe. The thing is that you guys have been so dedicated, and I really enjoy doing this with you guys, and I don't want to give that up. It's just like I feel like I've given you guys everything that I have to give from teaching you, from just sitting here and scalping it. And I don't know if I'm really doing a whole lot for you guys there. I'm sure I still have that email live action, but I don't really see where it's relevant. I mean, you can send it again, but I remember going through all of that stuff and going through that period. And like, here, the thing is, we've been at this place before, and we went and we looked at all of these different things and tried a bunch of different stuff, and we went nowhere. And then we found something that was actually empirically backed, and we took something and we went somewhere with that. It's just not enough, you know? It was a dollar amount. It was like, I lost $40 today. That's where I need to stop. So that's why I give up on it. And it was where I believed I was wrong. Like, I had some reasons why I thought I was going to see flows go a certain way, and it just didn't come through. So anyways, I feel like I want to keep what we got going here going. I wish that YouTube sent more views our way, but it just doesn't do that, right? GameStop 136 is not really taking off today like maybe some people had hoped. It's just kind of reverting back into the center of this range from the open. Don't stop. Well, but what am I going to do? Like, here's the thing, okay? lost 100, or I've lost 100 in the last week, right? That gives us like 8 months. If I just didn't trade at all, that gives us 8 months more before I'd have to refund the account. And I don't want to spend my money on it. And the YouTube channel only makes so much. YouTube channel kind of pays for the fees and commissions and stuff, but that's about it. So if we're not really, if the YouTube channel, if the stream is not really doing a whole lot for it, you get what I mean? Like if we're only getting a dozen people a stream, I'm not sure I can really justify doing it. Your risk limits are being breached. Yeah, I think that that's a big part of what's going on. The volatility is still too high. So probably I might stay out the rest of the week and just do sim trades. That's what I'm saying. Listen, if we have 400 in there, we might as well use it. But that means that we probably got a month or two left of this. And if I don't have like some really big turnaround and catch a couple of big winners, then we're going to have to stop doing it. So I've gone way over. I should be in my morning meeting, but I'm don't, trying to be honest with you. It's probably a part of why people don't want to watch the stream is because they don't want to hear me be down about it. But it's just the reality. And I don't think that there's a whole lot we can do about it. Yeah, I'm sure that people on stocks have made tons of money and get lucky. But we trade futures, so that's the first thing. I'm not going to put the money out to trade stocks. That's what I'm saying. Like what we're trying to do with the parameters that we're trying to do it with, that's just not practical. Even if we have everything that we need. Even if we really have, the answer to a lot of questions that other people don't have, which we really do. I really have to say we have empirically. That's why I say don't look at my performance, man. Look at the evidence, because there's empirical evidence to back this stuff, right? Right? I don't want to put on more markets because I don't want to put on more risk. I should have come in and funded a 3K account and just tried some YOLOs, right? I'm done putting money into it, man. There's a certain point at which you have to sit down and say what you're trying to do is just never going to work. Right? That it's not that you're not doing it right. I don't think that any of you guys believe me on that. Put clickbait titles, yeah. No, or I could just spend the 2 hours doing something else. Sorry. That means that you guys will get more YouTube videos, probably. Listen, I'm really good with the news, aren't I? I know what's going on. So we'll keep doing videos. Anyways, I'm like way over my time, guys. Stay profitable.